This was New Year's Eve in 2021. I was 20, barely scraping by with part-time jobs, and DoorDash was my lifeline. My regular job had cut my hours, and I needed the money badly. Everyone told me New Year's Eve was supposed to be good. People tip more, people stay home, orders flow faster. But by 10 p.m., it had already stopped being fun. Half the restaurants were behind schedule. Half the orders were wrong. The app kept sending me to places that had closed an hour ago. Like DoorDash hadn't gotten a memo. My phone battery was bleeding power because I had it on full brightness to track the map. I was driving through Georgia, somewhere between suburban streets and stretches of dark, unlit roads where you could vanish without a trace in 5 minutes. Around 11 p.m., I got an order from a wing place. Nothing unusual. Staff looked tired, like everyone else, and I stood there watching a guy in front of me argue about ranch cups like it was a Supreme Court case. The customer name was Tina. The drop-off? A house deep into a sparsely lit road. The tip was decent. Not amazing, but enough to make me accept without thinking. I pulled down the dark street slowly, headlights catching fog patches off the ground. The air was thick, almost oppressive. Gravel crunched under my tires as the map led me deeper into what felt like nowhere. Then I saw it, the house. No lights, no cars, nothing. Just the outline of a building, swallowed by darkness. My stomach twisted. Something felt wrong. I texted Tina, outside. Anyone home? No response. I called, straight to voicemail. I sighed, grabbed the bag, deciding to walk up the driveway. My headlights caught movement behind my car. Another vehicle. No lights. Door ajar. My pulse jumped. Hey, a voice called from the shadows. A man stepped into the beam of my headlights, hoodie pulled over his face. Calm. Predatory. You got my food? He asked. The order's under Tina, I said. That's my girl. Just hand it here, he replied, a half-smile creeping over his face. Something metallic glinted at his side. Knife? Crowbar? I didn't wait to find out. My hands fumbled the keys, and I was in the car before he could react, slamming the door, locking it. I floored the gas, tires spinning in the dirt driveway, scraping against potholes. I caught him jogging back toward his vehicle in my rearview mirror. Calm. Calculated. I didn't stop until the lights of the main road appeared. The app buzzed. Customer reported the order not delivered. I laughed nervously, then drove home. Once I got home, I sat in my car for a minute, trying to calm my racing heart. Every muscle in my body was tense, eyes darting to the darkened street. The thought of him, what he might have done if I'd stepped closer, kept spinning in my head. I tried to put out of my mind. DoorDash notifications popped up again, orders that my thumb immediately declined. But then one notification made my stomach drop. It was the same wing place, the same neighborhood, and the same customer name. Tina. The payout was suspiciously high. It felt like the universe, or something worse, was trying to lure me back. I declined. Twice. 3 times. My thumb hurt. I shut the app down and promised myself, no more deliveries tonight. End of story. But the next morning, I couldn't shake it. The memory of that man's calm, cold smile, the glint of metal, the way he seemed like he had planned for me to be there. It didn't leave me. The following weeks, every time I drove past dark streets, my heart jumped. Every time a stranger approached me, I flinched. I stopped taking night deliveries entirely. Months later, I saw a news article about a string of robberies targeting delivery drivers in rural Georgia. One detail stood out. The perpetrators would park in the shadows, observe the delivery, then confront the driver. I didn't know if it was the same guy. I didn't want to know. I learned a lesson that night. Some jobs aren't worth the money, and some roads aren't meant to be driven at night. But more than that, I learned to trust my gut, even if it made me look foolish to others. That was my New Year's Eve in 2021. One night, one delivery, one man, and it could have ended differently, much differently. It was New Year's Eve, 1996. I was 23, living in Indiana, and for some reason, I thought I knew the back roads better than anyone else. My parents had made me help my dad mess with the snowblower that afternoon, even though there was barely any snow on the ground. Typical dad logic, spend an hour preparing for a possibility that might never happen. By the time I got into my car, it was already dark and I was annoyed. My 1988 Oldsmobile Cutlass reeked of stale fries from my buddy Derek's McDonald's spill a week ago. The heater barely worked, and the dashboard clock had never been right. I was guessing it was around 9:15 p.m. The plan was simple: 70 west, then a few back roads to my cousin's place near Greencastle. Everyone would be there for the family New Year's celebration, and I wanted to make it before midnight. But as soon as I hit the interstate, I realized every other idiot in Indiana had the same idea. Brake lights stretched endlessly in every direction. My stomach sank. This was going to be a long wait. I had one of those early GPS units, big, clunky, and unreliable, but I hoped it might save me from getting lost on the shortcuts I sometimes took. I didn't really trust it yet. As I passed Plainfield, a patch of snow made me exit the interstate I didn't know well. I was trying to avoid traffic, thinking I'd cut through the countryside. At first, it worked. The highway noise faded. The road narrowed. The fields stretched endlessly, dark and uninviting. Farmhouses were sparse, porches dimly lit, smoke curling lazily from chimneys. I passed a gas station that looked closed, but the lights were on. I didn't stop. I told myself I'd see my cousin soon, have a beer, laugh about my dad's snowblower obsession. Then the GPS froze. Arrow stuck, screen flashing, signal lost. My phone was useless out here, and I suddenly realized I had no idea where I was. The road twisted unnaturally. Trees arched over the asphalt like skeletal fingers. Shoulders were narrow, ditches close. My car felt smaller, more fragile in that darkness. It was then I saw him, a man standing on the edge of the road. First, I thought my eyes were playing tricks. Who would be out here at this hour? But as I approached, he became clearer in my headlights. A dark coat, a hat shadowing his face, standing unervingly still. My first instinct was to keep driving, but the thought of leaving someone lost on these back roads made me hesitate. "Hey," I called, rolling down my window slightly. Cold air punched my face. "You all right?" He turned his head slowly, like weighing whether to respond. "You're lost," he said, voice rough, steady, and calm. I nodded. "Yeah, trying to get to Greencastle." "I can help," he said, almost too smoothly. "But I need a ride." Every parental warning I'd ever had screamed in my head. Don't do it. My mom would have slapped me through the windshield. But I was young, confident, and stupidly sure I could handle it. I unlocked the passenger door. He got in silently. Immediately, the car felt wrong. He smelled like damp fabric and sour sweat. The air shifted. My hands gripped the wheel harder. "Keep going," he said, eyes on the windshield. "You're in a hurry, huh?" "Cousins. Party." "Yeah," I answered, voice flat. We drove in silence. The road narrowed further. Trees so thick overhead they blocked the moonlight. My headlights barely penetrated the gloom. Then he spoke again. "People get careless tonight," he said, like reciting a lesson I didn't want to hear. "What do you mean?" I asked. "They think the year changing means something changes," he replied, calm. Too calm. My stomach dropped. My pulse spiked. Something was off. Minutes later, he instructed me to turn onto a road that barely existed. Potholes everywhere, faded yellow lines, ice patches I couldn't see until the tires hit them. I realized then that I had no idea where I was. My mind was racing with escape plans. If I saw another house, I'd stop. If he reached for anything, I'd swerve, slam brakes, whatever it took. And then he grabbed the steering wheel. It happened so fast, I barely processed it. My car jerked violently, tires sliding on ice and mud. Trees whipped past the windshield. Panic consumed me. I screamed. Metal scraped against the ditch. Glass cracked. And then we were sliding, twisting, spinning into the dark. I woke with my face pressed against something cold. Airbag dust choked the car. Pain stabbed through my ribs. The headlights were gone, replaced by a flashlight beam shaking across the wreck. "Hey, can you hear me?" a voice shouted. A stranger leaned in, middle-aged, panic etched on his face. He told me to stay still, not to move, that he'd almost missed me when driving by. The passenger seat was empty. The door ajar. Dirt smeared across the dash. I stammered, asking about the man, the one who grabbed the wheel. He didn't know. Nobody had been there. Just me alone in the ditch. My ribs screamed every time I moved. Sirens grew louder, flashing red and blue through the trees. Paramedics lifted me out, asking questions I could barely answer. Who I was. What happened? I could only tell them about him. Cal, dark coat. Hat. Eyes like he didn't care if I lived or died. The deputy listened, skeptical, and then drove away. No footprints. No coat. No sign he'd ever existed. Just the memory. The terror. And the knowledge that on New Year's Eve, sometimes being in the wrong place at the wrong time could change everything. After the crash, I never took shortcuts again. I never picked up strangers. I never trusted calm, smooth-talking men who appeared out of nowhere on dark roads. And every New Year's Eve since, when snow falls and the wind whistles down back roads, I remember him. Cal. His eyes. The way he knew exactly how to make me panic and feel helpless at the same time. Some nights, I swear I can still see him standing there in the snow, waiting for another lost driver. And I wonder, was it even him? Or just another shadow waiting for its moment? It was April of 2015. I was 20, working a side hustle with DoorDash because my regular job had cut my hours. Money was tight enough that I didn't care what day it was. New Year's Eve might bring bigger tips, but tonight, it was just me, my little brother Alex, and my girlfriend, Claire, helping me out by keeping me company while I worked late. By 10 p.m., I was already exhausted. Every restaurant was behind, half the orders were wrong, and the app kept sending me to places that had been closed for an hour. It felt like the universe was testing me. I got a ping from a wing place on the edge of town, an area where suburbs quickly dissolve into dark woods and winding two-lane roads. I accepted the order because the tip was decent and, frankly, because I didn't have the energy to care about potential risks anymore. The pickup was normal, and the staff looked like they were ready to quit for the night. I grabbed the bag and left, heading toward the drop-off, which the app listed as a house. Normally, that's fine, but this house, something felt wrong from the start. The road leading there was narrow, unlit, and lined with dense woods. The app directed me down a side road with no street sign, just a small mailbox cluster at the entrance. My headlights barely cut through the fog, clinging to the ground. The house appeared far back from the road, dark and silent, without even a porch light. I hesitated. The app said, "Hand it to me," but the house looked abandoned. I texted the customer, "I'm outside. Anyone home?" No response. Called them. Straight to voicemail. I stepped out of the car, carrying the bag of wings. The cold hit me like a wall. My hands shook, not from the cold. Something about the place made my stomach tighten. Then I noticed a car parked behind mine on the side of the road. Lights off, doors slightly open. My pulse quickened. A voice came from the shadows. "Hey." A man stepped into the faint glow of my headlights. Hoodie up, hands in pockets, face half in shadow. Calm. Predatory. "You got my food?" he asked. I hesitated. "I'm looking for Tina," I said, reading the name on the app. "That's my girl." "Just hand it over," he said. My brain screamed, "Run?" But I couldn't come up with anything better than, "I need to confirm the name." He took a step closer. That's when I noticed it, something in his other hand, metal low by his thigh. Knife? Crowbar? Didn't matter. My hand went to my keys. "I can't," I said. He stepped forward. "You don't want to make this weird." I jumped into the car, locked the doors, started the engine. My hands were shaking so hard I almost missed the ignition. He circled the car like he wasn't in a hurry. I reversed over the potholes, barely catching the road, then floored it forward. In my rearview mirror, I saw him jog back to his car calm. I didn't look back again until I hit a main road. I ended my dash at a gas station. My hand still shook. Then the app pinged me again, another order from the same neighborhood. Same wing place. Same street. Same eerie vibe. The payout was higher this time, like the app was taunting me. I declined. Fast. My thumb hurt from hitting decline. I finally drove home, breathing hard. Every shadow felt like him. Every tree in the yard seemed to lean toward me. I locked every door, turned on every light, and sat with my back against the wall, waiting for nothing to happen. But my mind refused to let it go. Fast forward to New Year's Eve, 2013. I was 31, living in Fort Collins, Colorado. My dog, Milo, was pacing in the living room. Fireworks were starting. I had no plans. My girlfriend, Kara, was working at the hospital, leaving me alone. Milo, usually calm, wouldn't settle. At 11:50 p.m., I took him out to the backyard to pee. Cold air hit my face. Then he froze. Tail stiff, ears forward. Eyes locked on the far corner of the yard, near the scraggly tree. I followed his gaze and saw the crouched shape. Movement subtle, deliberate, too precise to be a person fumbling around drunk. I pulled Milo back toward the house. He resisted. I yelled, "Get inside," but the shape didn't move. Another firework flashed, illuminating a pale face, mouth open, breath visible in the cold air. It had ducked behind the gate leading to the driveway, working it quietly. Milo growled low. I slammed the door and locked it. The fireworks masked every sound. My heart pounded. Every instinct screamed, this isn't normal. The next morning, I checked. Scratches on the gate, fresh mud, a cigarette but near the tree. I don't smoke. Nobody I know smokes. Milo never stepped into the yard alone at night after that. Which brings me to Hollow Creek, 2018. I moved out of Fort Collins after that incident, looking for peace for somewhere normal. But normal is relative. Hollow Creek looked like a storybook town on paper. Small population, quaint houses, winding roads. The rent was cheap. I thought I could start over. It started subtle. Footsteps outside at night. Doors rattling when the wind was calm. Fleeting glimpses of movement in the corners of my eyes. Milo, now older, would growl at empty rooms. My neighbors seemed normal, but at night, the woods around Hollow Creek became menacing. One night, I saw a figure in the fog. Same posture, same slow, deliberate movements as the man in my yard back in Fort Collins. My stomach turned. Could it be him? Cal? Tina's guy? Someone else? The fear was familiar, primal, and suffocating. I started leaving lights on, sleeping with the door locked, and Milo on high alert. The presence didn't approach every night, but the feeling of being watched was constant. The breaking point came on Halloween, 2018. I returned from a short trip, only to find my front door ajar. Nothing was stolen, but the living room was disturbed, papers shuffled, the sofa slightly shifted. Milo was frantic, barking at empty corners. I called the sheriff. They found nothing, but their tone suggested they didn't really believe me. That night, I sat in the living room, lights on, weapons within reach, and tried to make sense of it. Who was this? Why me? Why follow me across states, across years? And then I realized it wasn't just a man. It was a pattern. The same calm, predatory presence, always waiting for the right moment. Always watching. And no matter where I ran, no matter how careful I was, it followed. By 2019, I had learned to live with it. A careful routine, constant vigilance, never opening doors without checking first, always listening for the faintest hint of movement. And Milo, he never left my side at night. If he froze, I froze. If he growled, I reacted. Sometimes, I think I can feel them watching through the walls, the trees, the fog that rolls in from the forest. Hollow Creek might seem quiet, peaceful, perfect for a new start. But I know better. The shadows hide things, and some of those things never forget. Every New Year's Eve, every dark road, every backyard, I remember the wings, the crouched figure, the cold air, the silence before a scream. And I know one truth, clear as the moonlight slicing through the woods. No matter how far I go, no matter how carefully I lock my doors, the man, or whatever he is, follows. Waiting, patient, silent. Somewhere in the shadows of Hollow Creek, he's still there.